Welcome to the Quantum Healer. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Tracey Allshafer, and I'm here today talking to Maryanne Savino, who is a light language oracle. And this is something really different that we're going to talk about, but I'm hoping that you're going to feel a resonance with it within your core being and your core self. So please have an open heart as we come into the episode today. A lot of people think light language is kind of out there and kooky. When I first started speaking, I call it star language, and maybe it's different. We can talk about that. But my husband, he couldn't stop laughing at me, so I just decided not to talk around him.
We get a lot of people laughing. I've had people burst into laughter and run out of the room, and it's like, it's okay,
So can you tell everybody what is light language?
Okay, so thank you first of all for having me on the show. I'm so grateful and excited to participate and share with the world. I think light language for me is a language, the feeling, because I try to stay out of the mind with it, because that's the thing people want to know. What does it mean? But to me, light language is a language of the soul and its memory, expressing itself through the heart, but bypassing the logical mind. So if you start to hear someone speak it, it could also be written, it could be signed with the hands and moved with the body. People have different ways of expressing it. But when people say, well, what does it mean? Can you explain what it means? And what did you just say? The minute I feel, this is, of course, my own personal experience of it, I prefer not to try to understand it with the mind so much. Some people translate it, which is fine. Everybody has their own way of expressing it and what it feels to them. For me personally, rather than trying to understand it with the mind, because the minute you go up into the head, it's like there's something shifts within it. It doesn't feel the same. You don't have the same experience. So I say, why not take it in? Let it kind of permeate through your DNA, through your cells, and let it access or activate you. Because I think that for me personally, the more you stay in the heart with it and the feeling sense of it, it's got something about it that really can make you feel wonderful. Even if it's pushing through, because one of the other things I find that it does is that it helps break up energy blockages. Like, if there's traumatic imprints there, karmic imprints, it can help with breaking them open and helping them to release from the body, because we store trauma in our bodies, in our cells. It's in the memory. So, it's a great way to express ourselves from our soul, and rather than think about it, get into the feeling, and the sensory through feeling is really a nice way to experience it. And of course, our human mind always wants to know, it's curious, that's fine.
People want to understand things, right? And and so many things that are really truly healing, they're experiential, and we can't analytically decipher it.
Exactly.
We have to experience it. We have to feel it for ourselves and get into some frequency with it, and that's how we figure out if it's true or not. And, I think more and more people are getting that. We still have a lot of people that want the quantifiable.
They want evidence. Well, how do I know that this is what it is? And well, how do you know that the world is here, and that we're spinning, in the cosmos, and all these planets are up, and we're, here we are, and how do we know that the Creator exists? I mean, you look around you, you feel it. If you don't tap into that source within, you wouldn't know anyway. So it's like I say, stay out of the mind so much as getting into the mind. Stay out of that. Stay in the heart, stay in the sensory of the feeling sense more. And then if you, let's say, want to go into meditation, and let's say you start to speak it, or you hear somebody speak it, or you write it, or you start to move it, in the body. You could ask your higher power, is there a message here for me? Is there something that I can have a different understanding through my analyzing it, just because I want any kind of message? You can do that. I don't think that's wrong.
Right.
I just feel that it's a different experience when you get out of the mind.
Yeah. Well, how did light language start for you or come to you? Can you give us your story?
Yeah, this is an interesting story because I first thought that it was through two friends. Well, it was. What happened was, this was around 2004, 2005, I would say. I had just gone through a health crisis, and I was at an event in New York City at Metacenter, New York, with my friends Jody Sirota, who's the founder and owner, and Judy Satori. They both spoke the language of light. And I thought I didn't know what it was, because I was sitting in the audience. They started to speak it, and all of a sudden my heart started beating really fast, and I got really like almost like anxiety. And I jumped out of my seat and ran out of the room, and there was a break, and Jody came over and she goes, "Are you all right?" I said, "No, I don't know what the hell is happening to me. Oh my God, I feel like I started crying." And then I went back in, and they started, we finished the break, they started speaking, and then all of a sudden I just found myself speaking it. It was a memory that was from a very deep place, a very ancient place, and yet it felt as if it could be the future too.
Right.
There was this I feel it and see it as an infinite expression of the soul, because it's within, but it's also coming from the cosmic forces, from the multiverse, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what was interesting, and I didn't realize this at that time, back in, I would say, maybe the late 80s, I had a cat who I used to call my Siamese alien, because Kashmir was his name. And if you know a Siamese cat, they don't meow. They have a very unusual sound. But this guy, he just sounded like not of this earth. And he started speaking to me. He was very vocal.
Wow.
And I found myself giggling and laughing, thinking, I have no idea what he's trying to communicate to me. And then one day I was just feeling into it, and I started saying words to him, and he was responding. And I realized, and I didn't realize it then, I realized it later after I had the experience with Judy and Jody, that, oh my gosh, Kashmir was communicating this to me, and I didn't realize it. I would find myself speaking words, and I'd say, well, where did that come from? What does that mean? Yet he felt it, and he would come over and rub against me, and I would hold him, and it was a deep feeling of really like, oh my gosh, this is really something.
It's interesting that you're mentioning your cat, because recently I've had several experiences with different animals in the wild that showed up, and then I would start speaking the language with them. And there was a black vulture that dropped in, and I was, very close with him for a whole day, and he was in the lawn, and as he was doing his thing, I started to speak some star language with him, and he looked at me and he cocked his head. So that to me was some kind of acknowledgement. And then he came right up to the screen, and he spent most of the day there. And I won't tell the rest of the story. It was really a long thing. And then I had another interaction with a coyote the other day in a nature preserve. And it was the same thing. He was looking at me through the tall grass, and I started to speak to him, and then I turned around, and the next thing I know, he's behind me, and I didn't quite know what we were getting into, so I kind of stopped and made my way out. But
Animals are sensitive, yes.
They definitely get it.
I mean, I remember seeing people, if I was at an event, whether it was me giving the event or somebody else, we sometimes would collaborate, people would just this one woman just couldn't stop laughing, and she ran out of the room. So I remember Judy going over and said, what do you find funny? And she says, it's bringing out, actually, I'm not laughing at you, she said to Judy. she said, I'm laughing because it's bringing out the inner child in me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool, because you may find that happening. It'll bring out this giggling, bubbly kind of little child that wants to play and have fun, which it can do. It's very, that's like the fairy realm, you know, that energy comes in and it's like, oh gosh, this is really kooky and funny. And
and it can be kooky and funny.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it can be very intense.
Yes.
And it's almost like, wow, okay, this is serious now. We're getting serious. And I mean, for me, it changes a lot to just, I don't even know. Like you said, people have asked me, do you know what you're saying? Do you know what you're writing? You have to just feel it.
Yeah,
feel the energy.
Dragon codes can be really intense. When I start bringing in the dragon energy, it's a deep. Some people get frightened by it because it's so, but they're not harmful. They're not, you know, evil, dark forces. They're just the aspects, I feel, that we deny. So they come in to bring out that shadow aspect that really is part of who we are anyway.
You know, I want to go back and talk about that for a minute, because there are some people that think that this is some kind of weird demonic thing, right?
I know.
You always have people that are going to think sort of things like that.
It's the devil. It's demonic. You're, you're been infiltrated. I've gotten a lot of. You can't imagine.
As we're all kind of opening up, I think, and getting closer to, we're going to talk about ascension.
Yes.
I think that's a part of
it's a big
what's
part
happening
of it.
here.
Absolutely.
I think as more people are expanding into this consciousness, that the energy that doesn't want to see us find our truth is creating ways to pull us out.
I couldn't agree with you more. I would say yes to that for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then. Ascension, what is that? What does that mean? How does that apply to light language?
Well, the thing that's funny, everybody's got their own description of what ascension is. You hear the word ascension and immediately you assume we're going up and out somewhere. But to me, ascension is not about going up and out. It's actually turning toward you, coming home, and going down and connecting and rooting and anchoring to Mother Earth, because whether we like it or not, and whether we want to admit it or not, even with the challenges and the struggles that we sometimes experience through this ascension, we chose to be here for this.
Right.
We volunteered as souls to show up in this lifetime to assist with this ascension journey.
Right.
And ascension to me is a homecoming. It is not about going up and out, or you could say, in order for me to ascend, I have to come home to me. I have to come home to myself, settle into my body, embody and be present in my body on the earth plane to then rise up and expand out. But as I rise up and expand out, I'm still anchored to Mother Earth. That is my version of ascension.
No, that feels right to me too.
People say, ascension is an awakening. I'll agree with that. However, it's not just an awakening. It's an awakening to remember who we are, that we are source in human form, that chose this life to express ourselves through this human life at a time on the planet where we have never been before.
Exactly. I loved how you said with light language, it's both ancient, but I don't know what you said, telling of the future, something.
Yeah, it is. It's infinite.
It's that collapsing of time that we're experiencing now too, as everything is happening. The new timeline is coming, and that really resonated with me, how you described it, that, something can be at once very ancient and totally new and futuristic. Because
the thing about that, and it's nothing against anyone, because I used to feel this way too. Oh, well, it's we have to go back to the ancient ways because that's the way of nature, and that's when things were better. But not necessarily. If you look back in ancient, I started to question that and think about it and feel into it, and I thought, be a channel, but be again present. Let me experience the actual life here than just channeling information about it. So the thing is that we have ancient teachings, right? Let's say we go back to ancient Egypt, right? The Roman, Greco-Roman, even the Mayan, all these ancient civilizations. Now, granted, there's a lot of wisdom there. We're carrying, anyone who's had lifetimes in those times, we are carrying it in our souls, Akashic records.
Right.
But what we did then was great for then. We are now in a new life, in a new time. So what about if we take the wisdom of the ancients, we bring it into the now, but we move forward into the future to create something new from that, rather than, no, this is the ancient practices. This is why I left a lot of spiritual practices, because they were, I mean, they talk about religion being a problem, but they're the same. They were doing the same. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't any different than religion, what I learned in the Catholic Church. And it's nothing against anybody who follows that.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm just realizing that, okay, take the ancient wisdom, bring it into this now moment, move forward into the future with the opportunity to experience and express something new. What can I create?
Right.
What can I birth from the ancient wisdom into the new and the now as I move forward?
Right. And let's just back up for a second. I resonate with the term star language. And
So it is a language, again, of the soul, but star language, gibberish, which I thought I was speaking with my cat, my Siamese alien, speaking in tongue. I know people that did a lot of speaking in tongue. I've been to churches where they speak in tongue, and it was a very much...
I was too,
I was like, wow, this feels so light language to me. So for me, it was a soul memory of my times of when I probably was in a church speaking in another lifetime.
Yeah.
I think star language, galactic language, you know, whatever you want, angelic, because there's many. There's cosmic. There's the star systems, Arcturus, Orion, Sirius, Lyra, Andromeda, you know. There's all these star constellations where they don't speak the way we're speaking now. They speak in code. And then you have the angelic realm, and you have the archangels, the Elohim angels, which come from the Mintakan part of Orion, which is a star constellation. And then you have the earthen. You know, there's people say, oh, well, it's not from the earth, but some of it is, maybe. For some people. I mean, I feel sometimes when I get that deep, like the grandmothers come in, it's like, oh my God, this, it could be the wisdom of the stars too. But Gaia, ooh, I just got to chill. Like my whole, like, wow, like I feel her. That's also, for me personally, I came here for Earth, for Mother.
Right. And if we're talking about healing, right, we're talking about not just our own healing, but the healing of Gaia, the healing of Mother Earth.
Totally.
There's that need to sometimes start within, but there's a global healing that's occurring.
Collectively, yes. Because we do have our own, to me, ascension, it is your personal soul journey, but it is also the collective.
Right.
So we have our own personal soul journey that we're going through. That's why it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when people say, oh, you know, this is ascension and this is the way it is, but that is part of it. Whatever your soul, my soul, whoever's soul comes here to experience, even if some people look at it and say, oh my God, that person's negative. Oh my God, you need to go and meditate or whatever. I used to be like, oh, that's not, and I'm thinking, ooh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is my soul, my journey. Even if I'm messing up, good.
Right.
Why don't I can mess up if I want. If my soul wants to mess up to find out how to go in there and shift things around, there's no judgment. We have to stay at, that's a programmed belief system. Again, you know, it's...
So with light language, is there a way first of all, does it naturally come about? Yes. Is there a way to also activate it? What are your thoughts on these things?
Okay, so some people say, oh, we're not here to activate anybody. Other people will say, oh, well, I can activate you. And I'm thinking, yeah, you could, but when I teach, I'm not teaching like the way you learn French language or Spanish or Italian. You're not learning words. What I do is I give people tools to help them access their own codes of light. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways you can also do it, this is like a simple little technique that before you go to sleep at night, mm-hmm. you can ask that your higher power open up the doorway to your DNA, your light codes from when you lived in, let's say, ancient civilizations or another galaxy, whatever it is. Can you help me access the light code wisdom that lives within inside of me? Because light language is a living language. It's not something you learn, it's something you remember. Mm-hmm. So before you go to sleep at night, you can say, I connect to my highest power, my divine being within, to please align me with my soul's language, any wisdom and information and higher intelligence that can help me in this lifetime. Please guide me and show me the way I give thanks, and so it is. It could be something like that. Mm-hmm. And you do that before you go to bed at night. Maybe when you wake up in the morning, guide me today, show me, have a journal, maybe start to write, see mm-hmm. what comes out. Maybe sometimes in the presence, I've seen this happen in the presence, like what happened to me with my friends. Like the minute I started hearing them, it wasn't just here. I realized I felt it here. I was like, oh my God, what's happening to me? And then it just came out. It was like a ripple effect. Like, you know, when you drop a pebble in a pond and then it starts to ripple out? Well, that's what it felt like. Mm-hmm.
I almost can't walk outside by a tree or in nature without it just starting, because it feels like whenever I'm in nature, I just want to walk around. Usually it's singing. It's kind of like melodic.
Very melodic.
So do you feel like speaking a little light language so people can have a,
that's the other thing about it. Talking about it and describing it is one thing, but to actually experience it is mm-hmm. a whole other story.
Absolutely.
So I'll offer a transmission for people to tap into their own light language if they choose.
Okay.
But that it will also bring a healing resonance effect to wherever in their life, in their body that is needed.
Okay. So if somebody's watching this at home, they can just
receive
it open.
With an open heart in wherever it is in your life that you wish to receive healing, transformation from my heart to yours. In the name of the Creator, in the name of the star beings, Mother Gaia, all of the beings of light and the angelic realm, we bring you in to assist. Ejur kus ori shatar ikasandur orvatea. Mashkasori vishatar isandur urbiakatum. Irkusur vishate isatar ishatan uskuskushese siaya. Marutala la laviara nasuzu yishalainana. Aselai viaratar iakunonia no sotoia. Aloloi aloianu varosi. Aloe andori kasum eroba ene ishtalar irakatar irasun sun zizia ziariana enduro kutur, masur vashanda atotakatatatsutattua, at isheze kitata, ashkata, 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 ushkata, chichat, Ma chose va s'assun de zazajije. A quoi la senai irata, cas ora vescelai ira numo subiaratoa, atucatura ucitsetsutsatsata. Shikata, 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 shikata. Oh, shimoro suvi kasuma. Atuaianus major osimialu pocosotoria ishkatan ishtal asum arriviavai manashadia facusun isitikato sokoto sikatitiatiatia indaro nusutia tora si mikatar ora makas ut vata Nemoshatar, 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 Avaran, 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 Irakuma, Age, Age, Age. And so it is. Blessed be. Amen.
And so it is. That was beautiful.
Whew. Forgot where I was for a moment.
That's what kind of happens.
I got very strongly that there was some Arcturian, some Andromedan, and there was also a Lemurian and a little bit of Atlantean. There was an Atlantean priestess that came in through this, and also the Earth Mother, grandmothers, grandfathers came in, a little bit of that dragon energy. There was some angelics that came in very strongly. I definitely felt the Lyran and the Arcturian energy strong when it came in.
So if you start speaking some kind of gibberish.
Yeah, start with gibberish. Tap in, call in your angels, your star being guides, call in, Gaia, call in whoever it is you work with and say, please guide me, help me to access and tap into my soul's records and my own unique light codes. Help me to find the way to express them. How can I express them? What is a good way for me? And then things start to happen,
I mean, light language is, like you said, everybody kind of has their own feel to it.
You know what? One thing I will say about it, resonance is a key word in this ascension journey. What do you resonate with? You may hear 5 or 6 different people speak, write, draw light language. Some of it you're going to be like, I don't know, that doesn't, and then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this feels.
Right.
Resonance is very important. You have to feel what resonates with you.
And if it doesn't resonate, keep moving.
Yeah,
because
go with what feels good to you. That's really important.
Thanks again, Maryanne.
Oh, thank you, Tracey. I'm
Thanks
so grateful.
much.
What a beautiful experience. Thank you.